Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of NBC's 10 Count. I'm Steve Fall. But on today's edition, oh my God, I'm talking to the CEO, the GM, the owner of AEW, Tony Khan. Tony, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Steve. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood when I get to talk to you, but you are coming to my neck of the woods soon, Worcester, Mass, July 27th. Dynamite, Fight for the Fallen. What is it like when AEW comes to a town? What's the experience like for a fan attending an AEW event, maybe for the first time?
Anytime we bring Wednesday Night Dynamite to a city, we get new first-time fans, and we have a lot of loyal AEW fans who watch every Wednesday night on TBS and every Friday night on TNT, and we get that support really nationwide and worldwide. AEW is on in 130 countries now. And Massachusetts is one of our biggest states for both TV and for live events. We've had a lot of events in the area, and I'm really excited to debut AEW in Worcester on Wednesday night this week.
I'm pumped for that. Now, you just brought it up, Massachusetts, a big part of AEW's, everyone loves it. But when are we going to get a pay-per-view, Tony?
Well, it's a great question. I think there's great venues here. We'd have great support from the local sports partners and definitely great support around Massachusetts for the fans. We've held some really big events in Boston, and then here coming to Worcester this week. I would certainly love to bring a huge AEW pay-per-view to the Massachusetts area, and I really think that the fans would love it too.
I know I would love it. I would be there screaming, definitely enjoying that. I'm anticipating, because I've gone to Dynamites and I had a great time. I went to Ring of Honor recently in Lowell, Massachusetts, and I was at the media scrum, and you did mention that pay-per-view, Death Before Dishonor, 25,000 buys at the time we were talking on Saturday night. Obviously, those numbers have gone up. And you did say that pay-per-view was probably top 3 buy rates of all time for Ring of Honor. And has that number risen? Has it risen to number 1?
Yeah, well, we don't have the cable satellite numbers yet, but right now, for what we have digitally, it's over 27,000 buys just digital. And that would be near the all-time highs for Ring of Honor. And I'm very proud of it. What we've built is something totally separate from AEW, resurrected Ring of Honor, which is a company that frankly had fallen on hard times, but had a lot of fans up here in the Northeast, including around Boston and around New England. And I think there's a lot of great wrestling fans, a lot of Ring of Honor fans happy to see we kept Ring of Honor alive. It's a separate promotion from AEW. And sometimes on Wednesday nights, like this week, you'll see the stars from Ring of Honor or the champions from ROH appear in AEW. But right now in AEW, we have a lot of top wrestlers in the world and a lot of the top rivalries in all pro wrestling on AEW.
I'm excited. I know Bryan Danielson is returning this Wednesday on Dynamite. He's been out for a while, but what's Bryan Danielson's anticipation for this matchup with Garcia? Because I think everyone's worried about seeing someone come back from an injury. Are they getting injured again? So he is cleared to wrestle this Wednesday.
Absolutely. We're going to see Bryan Danielson this week on Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS, and he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And the fans just absolutely love Bryan Danielson. No matter what he does, he's got the support of so many people around the world. And Bryan Danielson has been out for about 2 months now, and the doctors cleared him recently, and he's going to make a comeback this week on Wednesday Night Dynamite versus Daniel Garcia, who's part of Chris Jericho's Appreciation Society, which injured Bryan Danielson in the first place back in May at Double or Nothing in the Anarchy in the Arena match, which was one of the best AEW matches of all time on our big Double or Nothing pay-per-view. And now Danielson and Garcia locking up for the first time since that match. They had one match before. It was a great one. But Garcia's come a really, really long way as a wrestler and, as he would say, as an entertainer. Since then, he's really developed more of a personality, but most importantly, he's gotten even sharper as a pro wrestler. So I think it's a great match, and it's a huge, huge opponent for Bryan Danielson and a big obstacle for him in his comeback match this week on Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS.
Man, I am pumped for that. And obviously, now you're an interesting person because unfortunately, people usually love you or they hate you, according to Twitter. This is Twitter. And there's so many misleading headlines about you. And sometimes they're negative, sometimes they're positive. Like, how do you feel about when you see an article about yourself and the facts in there aren't even right because they're not involved in the situation that you're in. How do you feel when you see an article about you that is missing all of the facts and they're just tearing you apart?
Well, the standards for wrestling journalism are very mixed. There are some people that hold it to a high journalistic standard, and there's other people who post stuff that's just totally inaccurate, or they aggregate stuff that, you know, is not accurate in the first place, and then through the aggregation they really butcher it. But I'm honestly used to some level of misinformation in sports. Sometimes things you see in the sports media, in which I've worked, you know, in pro sports for over 10 years now, with the Jaguars in the NFL and with Fulham now in the Premier League. And certainly in football, and particularly, honestly, in English football, I've seen a lot of inaccurate things reported. A lot of times agents playing games in the newspapers and so forth keep spreading misinformation. You know, there's some of that in pro wrestling too, but a lot of it is on the aggregators. So it's probably not the best when you see it, but sometimes people will report when things aren't accurate, you know, and people will straighten themselves out. But a lot of times you don't even see a correction on it. But whatever. You know,
you'll never see the correction. It's the negative part comes out, and then there's a correction to that. Well, I'm going to skip that part because that won't get me as many clicks as that negative one that came out a few days ago. Because I type in your name right now on Twitter, and it's every 6 seconds someone's writing your name right now, and it's very interesting. Good things and bad things, obviously. But as someone who's in the spotlight like yourself, obviously people are going to be like, oh, I love him or I hate him. It's the natural course of, it feels like that's the way wrestling is. Either you're a heel or a baby face, right?
Very positive online set. I have I've been told by the data that I actually have a really positive online sentiment. There's a lot of stuff positive and negative.
Of course.
I guess it's
anything.
Very positive.
You could say a delicious cheese pizza. People will be like, oh, well, I don't like cheese pizza. And suddenly it's a negative comment about cheese pizza. How dare you, first off, disparage cheese pizza and Tony Khan at the same time? That's not right. Though there's so much going on with AEW and with Ring of Honor involved. I asked you this on Saturday a little bit, but having these two brands, how is it going to, I know they're supposed to cross over a little bit here and there, but like, will Ring of Honor have its own TV deal, or is streaming a better platform for it to include AEW stars to bring more viewership?
It could go either way. I'm excited about the possibilities now with Ring of Honor's relaunch going so well and getting the brand back to where the record numbers were and as hot as Ring of Honor's ever been right now. I think it's a very good sign. And we own a lot of Ring of Honor footage now. So with a big library we built primarily of great AEW shows to begin with, and hundreds of hours of great AEW content, and then adding in now Ring of Honor and thousands of hours of great Ring of Honor matches from over 20 years. They've had a lot of great history, and I would absolutely love to get a weekly Ring of Honor series going, and I think we've shown there is interest in that, and it would be a great option, I think, TV or streaming, and there'll be a lot of great people you could look to for that. But to me, I would look first, foremost, and really concentrate on Warner Brothers Discovery because they've been a great media partner to AEW. And right now with Dynamite on TBS every Wednesday and Rampage on TNT every Friday night, the support we get from Warner Brothers Discovery is better than ever. And we've just worked with them on a Shark Week integration. And that's a huge ability in the world of Warner Brothers Discovery, and to know that we did right by them and that we really nailed it and did a great job, and they were really happy with the results from getting Shark Week tied together with AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite for the first time now that we're under new management at Warner Brothers Discovery, and that's the primary media partner of AEW. That's really good news for us, and I think it's good sign going forward for the strength of the AEW media deals.
I really hope that next year when they do the Shark Week that they actually have like a ring above water with sharks swimming around, and you got to push somebody in, eaten by a shark. That's how you win the match. It might get violent pretty quick on TV, but ratings are ratings, I guess. It could happen. You never know. Though, but have they showed interest in having a TV deal with Ring of Honor?
We've had conversations. The first step in Warner Brothers Discovery and Ring of Honor working together for the first time ever because Ring of Honor, as I said, goes back to early 2002. So over 20 years of history, are a lot of great events up here in New England. And I really have a lot of respect for the history they built. Of course, we launched AEW a few years ago and have risen to heights that no wrestling company, including this one, AEW was the first company to really capture that national audience as an alternative to the primary company of the prior 20 years, which was WWE. Yeah. And they hadn't had that national competition since WCW folded in 2001. And now with the existence of AEW, it has created some consolidation in the wrestling business in a very good way for us. Now with Ring of Honor also being effectively a sister promotion that we can work with. And I think there's definitely interest, but right now, the first project we just came off was this weekend was a great success because the first time Warner Brothers Discovery had ever worked with Ring of Honor was Death Before Dishonor on Bleacher Report, which did great business. So when you asked me earlier about the digital numbers, most of that is domestic, and the exclusive domestic streaming provider was Bleacher Report. So it worked out really well to hit numbers far above what was projected, and really some of the best numbers in the history of Ring of Honor. And they aren't the same kind of numbers we do for AEW, which has seen pay-per-view growth year over year, every year for our AEW events. And we've, again, hit heights with AEW on pay-per-view that nobody as a competition to WWE, back then the WWF, has hit in 20 years since WCW. And even the last year plus of WCW, they were not doing the pay-per-view numbers we're doing now. So wow. I think, and so it really, since 1999, nobody's done the kind of numbers we've seen for the last 4 big AEW pay-per-view events.
Wow. Now you brought up WWE, and recently, obviously, they've had a shakeup in their organization with Vince McMahon retiring. Now, what does that mean to you as also a promoter of professional wrestling, that Vince McMahon, obviously you probably watched him as a child growing up on TV and as a performer. So what does this mean for the wrestling business now that Vince McMahon has stepped away? Does it open the floor for AEW to take over as number one?
I believe that there are a lot of great wrestling fans all over the world who are following pro wrestling pretty closely, and there's obviously been shakeups. I've definitely followed that promotion since I was a small kid, and it'll be interesting to see how things turn out in the world of pro wrestling. And I'm a big fan of pro wrestling all over the place, not just AEW and now not just Ring of Honor either. We've worked with New Japan Pro Wrestling and a lot of other great companies all over the world. So we'll see what's to be held for the future of the pro wrestling business. But I'm glad that AEW and Ring of Honor are both a huge part of it, with AEW every Wednesday on TBS and every Friday on TNT. And now Ring of Honor with the pay-per-view events on Bleacher Report, hopefully will lead to weekly Ring of Honor also going forward.
Now, I know you had the Forbidden Door pay-per-view recently with New Japan, and with the shakeup in the WWE with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, I think they might be more open to having a Forbidden Door or just a pay-per-view of fantasy matchups, AEW versus WWE wrestlers. Now, are you open to that? I know you've answered this before, but now the shakeup is completely different. Other people are in charge, and they might give you what you probably wanted.
I'm not sure if that's the case, but I would certainly be open to talk to pretty much any wrestling promotion in the world about how to work together if the circumstances are right. You know, we've worked with, I would say, in terms of either securing footage or providing tap with probably at least a dozen companies around the world, including Ring of Honor before I was the owner of Ring of Honor, when they were independently owned by Sinclair, which I'd like to think was positively received by them when we did things to help them out when they were in tough times. And, you know, I think that goodwill helped us in the sale process, that they knew that something they put a lot of time and effort and financial backing into was going to have a good home and somebody that's going to take care of it and love Ring of Honor. And I think our track record with AEW showed them that. And now both companies are really strong. AEW is operating at a level again that no challenger brand in pro wrestling has operated in 2 decades.
Wow. Those are big numbers. Again, the ceiling is just keeps getting higher and higher every time you keep getting up over and up. But I have a few more questions. One, oh, I think Tony Khan's phone has finally died. Oh, he's still here, folks. He's still here. He's still here.
You know the notification. I got the notification. It just
your phone's about to die. A couple more questions. One is, what is your relationship with the AEW wrestlers? Because I've talked to so many of them, and I always bring you up, and they talk about how you're very approachable. You're very easy to talk to. Now, what is your feelings towards these wrestlers? Are you like a mentor? Do you feel like a father figure, their boss, a friend?
I think in most cases, I am a boss and try to be a friend. I mean, I guess in every case, if you work for AEW, I'm a boss. But if, it's somebody I've gotten to spend time with, I try to at least be very friendly and make it a fun place to work. And there are a lot of people I have different relationships with. Some people are older and, I can learn a lot from them. And a lot of the young wrestlers, I do try to give advice to and give them ideas and things they can use on TV, on Wednesday Night Dynamite, on TBS, or on Friday Night Rampage on TNT, and hopefully things that they can use to develop their skills and also to make them more interesting to the wrestling fans who watch the shows.
Because again, your approach is, I feel like every time I talk to someone that I'm talking to a wrestler who works at AEW, I doubt they're going to badmouth you, but at the same time, they're always saying how they're going above and beyond. They're not like, oh yeah, he's a great boss. Like they're going, oh, he's very approachable. If I have an idea, I go to him. Maybe he likes it. Maybe he doesn't like it. So when you write a storyline for a professional wrestler who comes up to you, maybe with their idea, are you starting backwards as in, I know the ending, but how do we get there?
It depends on what it is. It depends on who the wrestlers are and what the match we're trying to get to is and how we're going to get there and how long we have to get from point A to point B. Is there a point C or a point D? There's a lot of questions, and every story is different. At least you hope to try to make every story different and add value to the shows.
I cannot wait to see Dynamite Fight for the Fallen this Wednesday, July 27th, the DCU Center. This is the first time AEW is coming around with Fight for the Fallen. And I'm so excited because you have Moxley on the card. You have, of course, the return of Bryan Danielson. So if people are tuning in for the first time here at Fight for the Fallen, is there a match that you are particularly most excited about, or the entire card you're jacked up about?
Well, I think I am very excited. We already talked about Bryan Danielson coming back to the ring. I'm very excited about his opponent, young Daniel Garcia, somebody who has probably fallen under the wrong influence with Chris Jericho, but has a pretty inspirational story to keep him going, coming off a car accident that actually, before I ever knew Daniel Garcia, about 3 years ago, he set up a GoFundMe. He was in a really bad car accident. He's a really young wrestler in his early 20s. And 2 people who donated to it happened to be Chris Jericho and myself. And I didn't know him. He had a good reputation. And that's why I was so sorry to see he had gotten hurt. But then after that, when he recovered, he's come in and worked his way up into this position. I'm very excited for that one. But we talked about that one a bit. So I would probably give my answer to be Jon Moxley defending the AEW Interim World Championship versus Rush, who is a great international star. He's got a great record in Lucha Libre in Mexico and is a 2-time Ring of Honor World Champion and recently debuted in AEW with a huge win over Penta. And he has 10 straight wins across AEW, Ring of Honor, and Lucha Libre in Mexico. So he's a great contender. And recently, just this past weekend, here in Lowell, Mass. Yeah. He picked up the big win over his brother, Dragon Lee. You were there, Steve. You saw it. It was a great match. And after that, to get to 10 straight wins, I think he's a perfect wrestler to step into AEW and earn a title shot versus the interim world champion, Moxley, one of the most popular wrestlers in the world, somebody the AEW fans really love, and fans all over the world. He's a really recognized pro wrestler, and he's a huge part of our company. And of course, whoever winds up as the interim AEW world champion when CM Punk, the world champ, comes back from injury, we're setting up for a very interesting unification match to crown an undisputed AEW world champion. So that's something to keep an eye on. Bryan Danielson's back this week on Wednesday Night Dynamite, and CM Punk, I hope, will be back sooner rather than later, pending his recovery from the injuries. A lot of exciting things happening in AEW All Elite Wrestling right now.
I am so excited. If your cell phone wasn't dying and my cell phone wasn't dying and everything around us isn't dying, we continue this, but we have to let you go unless suddenly you turned your phone around and there's a bed there. And I think if we did that, it might get a little interesting here. Turn down the lighting, get some candles, get some Chardonnay. We'll have a great time. I'm sorry, what just happened? I just blacked out. Thank you, Tony Khan, for being here on NBC Sports Boston. It was a pleasure talking about, again, folks, if we haven't hit you over the head enough with this, we will hit you over the head with it one more time. Dynamite this Wednesday, DCU Center, Fight for the Fallen. The card is outstanding. Tickets still available. Folks, thank you, Tony Khan. Thank you so much for being here. I am truly blessed to talk to you today. And maybe next time we'll charge our phones and do this at a different time, in a longer span. Folks, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time for another edition of NBC Sports Boston's 10 Count. Bye.